What qualifies as a real American? Well, Gray Sinise makes a doc about what he thinks are some good, great Americans. The good, great American. Good Lord, Chase is called the real American. Are you a real American? Anyway, Chase Liaki here, Blue Futon, reviewing The Real American, the Evan Thompson story. So this is interesting. So reading the synopsis, it goes, this film explores what drove a man to selfless patriotism and showcases those heroes who stand alongside him beyond expectations in their service to America. Okay, when reading it saying the Evan Thompson story, and it was a 2-hour doc, I was thinking, wait a minute, how are we going to tell this 2-hour doc about a guy that lives in Nevada, next to Nellis Air Force Base, and every time he sees A-10s, F-15s, F-16s, him and his kids take American flags and they wave it. And so all the pilots, they turn, they see, oh, what is that American flag? And of course, after 2020, when he passed away, the flag waving, I've heard, stopped, but it really doesn't go deep into that. So anyway, like I said, I was like, how are they going to talk 2 hours about this? Well, it's a lot of different stories. You have stories of Doris Miller. You have stories about real Afghanistan fights. You have stories about 9/11, and you also have stories about the Afghanistan withdrawal in August 2021. So you have all these different stories about who the real Americans are. Of course, like United 93, the people that made sure the plane didn't hit Camp David. The Marines and Army, the 13 of them that passed away in Afghanistan August 22nd, 2021. And that one hits hard for me because they were in Saudi Arabia when I was there, and I helped train them to do these. So yeah, that one's a hard. I cried during that one just because I knew some of them, like not like no, but like I helped them anyway. And then like you said, we also have another Afghanistan story about A-10 pilots helping with white phosphorus rockets to make sure this platoon can leave and be safe. And like I said, the Doris Miller story, which if you didn't know, he was a black sailor during Pearl Harbor and he passed away. If you didn't know a little bit about his story, I know it's not, people say it's not an accurate movie, but Pearl Harbor, Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character, that is him. But if you didn't know, there's a huge memorial for him in Waco, Texas. So anytime you're in Waco, Texas, go visit it because it is a pretty awe-inspiring thing. And I have seen it, like when I was in Waco, Texas, the whole Baylor Bears, the Waco Doris Miller. So there's a lot of things there that this movie goes into. And of course, Evan Thompson's character. And like I said, they really don't go into Evan Thompson's story a lot. It just, it's sprinkled into them about what he did, his service to the fighter pilots, like having a fun thing when they do red flag training at Nellis Air Force Base. And then him actually going to a banquet, if you want to put it that way. I'm pretty sure at South Point, if I'm not mistaken, it would be a South Point casino because that's where a lot of the Air Force balls are at. And so, of course, him going there because he has no attire. He's a farmer, so he has no suit, tux, and things like that. So anyway, this is a pretty simple movie about these stories and what real Americans are and how they're different. Like I said, Doris Miller, who during that time, blacks were treated horribly in the Navy, in America, and things like that, and him willing to step up for his country and doing things tenfold amazing. Things that happened in Afghanistan, 1993 Patriots, and willing to say, you know what, because you're in that time, you're like, the pilot is dead. Our plane is taken over. We are going to die. And so one of the things was and so just having that momentum in your brain, like I remember watching Paul Greengrass's United 93, bawled my eyes out. And if I watch that movie again, I will bawl my eyes out again because that is one of the most haunting movies I could ever watch. I'm just tearing up right now. And then finally, the Afghanistan withdrawal in August. Like I said, that one hits hard for me too, just because being in Saudi Arabia at that time, having the Marines there, I remember going out there, like vivid memories of going out there and training with them to go through these security lines and how they would do it. And we were out there for like 4 to 6 hours to help them out. And of course, that's not all of it. We would also rotate in more time. But then when they go and they don't come back, and there's just the chaos that ensues, and working when all the Afghanistan people decided to come to Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Germany, and all the politicalness of that, of I know military members getting kicked out for not taking the COVID shot, but when the Afghanistans came over to America, they didn't have to take the shot, and things like that, where it's like the political boldness of it is really haunting to me, because they also, at the very end of this movie, talks about, you know, how can we get together as a country and not be so divided? And they also talk about, there's also members. There's also stories about, trying to get Afghanistan members out of Afghanistan because our government was doing nothing to help them. I mean, they were there for years. Just there's some people still there, and if they get caught, they are literally on bulldozers getting hung from the raptures. And that's where I also get mad, where people talk about the freedoms in America. Once the Taliban retook over Afghanistan, women have no rights now. Isn't Iraq supposed to have the legal age of marriage 9 years old now? So things like that, where you're just like, it puts in this perspective of like what we really have in America and how awe-inspiring it is. But yes, the Real American, the Evan Thompson story, is not just a story about Evan Thompson. It's about multiple heroic members in America from Pearl Harbor to today. And Greg Sinise, he has a good foundation where he takes kids to Disney World every year for parents that are either deployed or passed away in combat. And it's just one of those things where it's like awe-inspiring. I know he brings Tom Hanks in as well. So it's like, it's very good that Lieutenant Dan still has that purpose, and he is trying to make the world a better place. But overall, this doc is well shot. It's well crafted. I cried way more than I thought I would. I'm just thinking about stuff right now. It's bringing back memories of being there in 2021. Like I said, I was never in combat. Of course, bomb shelters and stuff like that, but I would never be scared of that, because you would just look in the sky and be like, okay, where's the mortar going to come, or the rocket? And of course, Oman, when they do shoot rockets, their accuracy is pretty shite. So it's just kind of funny too. You see the Air Force members just run as fast as they can to a bomb shelter, and then the Army would just be like, oh, let me get a cigarette first, and things like that. Same way with the Army, is like I'd be running on the street, and I'll just be like, okay, whatever. I don't have my battle rattle, but I'm just going to, whatever. Anyway, are you a real American? I hope you are. God bless America. So the Real American, the Evan Thompson story, will receive a 4 out of 5 with Futon, which goes at 80%. And the only reason I'm giving it 80% is because I guess I was expecting a little bit more for about Evan Thompson. I guess there's not a lot to say. But, yeah, it's still a doc worth watching. But let's see what the Critics News scores gave this one. So I'm not surprised. There's absolutely nothing for critics or user scores. I could give this a 90%. I really could, just because let's give it a 90. We're changing it to a 90%. It's just going to be a 90% for me. That's what it's getting. Chase Lock here with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know things Bluetopia. You Blue Futon, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Watch this tape tomorrow, week, for a month, and a year for every single freak one of you. Peace and love, and just be good to thy neighbor.